What is going on, guys? Joe Hodge here, and welcome to another Resident Evil 4 Remake video. So this video is going to be sort of in a podcast format. I'm not going to be really doing something too formal. I'm just throwing in some RE4 Remake footage. So this is really something, you can watch it if you want, but just listen to it at work or while you're driving or at home. There's really not much on screen to see other than remake footage with a little bit of the original Resident Evil 4, some footage from there as well. But this is a casual video. I'm not planning on doing something too crazy. I'm not wanting to do anything too formal. I'm not really talking about anything new, but I wanted to give you my thoughts on the remake. And I wanted to talk about just a whole bunch of things about the remake. Maybe some things, I wanted to give you some info that we have that you may not know about the remake. If you're one of those people that are really hyped about the game like me and you want to know more about it, you want to know some things that are in the game, you're kind of digging for information, but obviously no new Resident Evil 4 remake videos have come out from Capcom. We haven't got any more gameplay yet. You can find some Japanese gameplay footage on YouTube, but really it's kind of basically the same thing. Without the music, really, and maybe an extra minute of exclusive footage. But I believe I showed some in the video that if you watch this, there might be some in there. But I just wanted to do a casual conversation today about the remake and why I'm excited. Some comparisons to the original. Just an all-around talk about this video game and why I think it's going to be really good. So just sit back and listen to it. This again, it's kind of in a podcast format. There's not really any structure to this. I'm just kind of going to be rambling while still providing you with information about the remake. So let's get right into it. So first off, these are kind of spoilers, I suppose. This has come from I think a valid source. I believe it was IGN, or it was someone that they played the demo. Yes, there is a demo of the remake, and it is apparently a timed demo. So it's kind of like a one-shot, similar to the RE2 remake demo that we got. So apparently Jack Krauser, well, obviously he's in the game because they're not cutting anything, but Jack Krauser's in the game, and then I don't know what part of the beginning, but in the beginning of the game, Leon and Krauser are knife training. They're training they're training with their knives. As odd as that sounds, I don't know if they're training with practice knives or real knives, but Krauser is in the game. They saw this in the demo. They might have got like a first 20 minutes demo. They might have played a different demo than what we will get. But Krauser's in the game, and then he's brought into the office by the president. I don't know if he's like training in his suit or anything, because when he talks to the president in the announcement trailer, if you see, he's in like a kind of a formal suit. So I don't know if he's like training with Jack Krauser with his knives while he has that getup. That wouldn't make much sense, but I guess, I don't know. Jack Krauser's in the game, and they did see that he trains with Leon in the beginning of the games. So Krauser's in the game, and they're knife training. Also, I think from that same source, we heard that the clock tower that you can climb up actually collapses in the remake. So if you try and climb up there, it is no longer a safe spot. You can't just hide there anymore. You climb up there and it's going to collapse, and you'll fall back down into the swarm of enemies below. So I think that's really, really cool. What else here? This is, I wouldn't say it's old news, but it's been thrown around in a lot of YouTube videos. Everyone kind of knows it. But if you don't, nothing's getting cut from this game, at least nothing drastic at all. It's confirmed in Edge magazine in an interview with the developers that the village, the castle, and the island are in the game. The island, I think, is getting a sort of a rework, in that it's probably going to be more horror-oriented and not as actiony, and not as frustrating as times. Obviously, in the island, in the original, there were minigun guys that kind of, I wouldn't say disrupted the flow of the original game, but you would just, man, they were annoying. You get stuck in an animation if you got hit by the minigun guys, and you'd flinch, and they were just really, really annoying to deal with. So I think they're going to change some things up with the island. Village and castle, I think, are largely going to be the same. That's just an assumption, but the island is definitely getting reworked, and I think they mentioned that in the magazine, that it is getting reworked, I think. If not, obviously so. It'd be silly if they kept it as like frustrating and actiony. So I think we can definitely expect to have it more horror oriented. And I wanted to confirm, I just kind of wanted to list some enemies and people that we know that are in this game. So obviously El Gigante is making a return, Jack Krauser, that's confirmed. I think it was confirmed that Wesker is going to be in the game too. So we have the Del Lago, the lake monster that you'd fight in the original. Salazar, Sadler, obviously, and I think that's a given. Verdugo, so the insectoid creature that you would encounter in the kind of that sewer area of the game. Obviously, both of them are in the remake. You see him in the trailer, standing behind Salazar. I think it's pretty common knowledge that they're not going to be cutting any enemies. And I wanted to talk about something that I think they're kind of keeping, that, from what we've seen so far in the remake footage. What they're capturing really well so far is the original game's atmosphere. The original Resident Evil 4 had a really unique atmosphere that really any other game, in my opinion, can't really capture. You start out in the original Resident Evil 4 in this yellowish, sort of light yellow tan atmosphere. There's fog, and it's sort of this uncanny atmosphere that you're thrown in. Like the sky is overcast and things just look dead. I mean, there's not a lot of color. There's not a lot of vibrant things going on. It's just this sort of pale shade of yellow and gray that you're thrown into. And then you hear the leaves rustling around and everything's quiet and there's crows, and it's just this really unsettling, sort of almost otherworldly atmosphere that you're thrown into. And I think they capture that really well. If you look in the trailers and in the showcase and maybe exclusive Japanese footage, they're capturing that sort of atmosphere in a different light in the remake, in that Leon is now walking in this sort of blue, pale moonlight sort of atmosphere. Everything's dark blue. It's almost like I think we can assume it's morning, like early morning, maybe 3, 4, 5 a.m. In Spain, because obviously he gets to the village in the remake when the sun comes up. So he starts out I'm guessing the morning. I mean, that would make the most sense. Maybe he spends an hour and a half, 2 hours in game time fighting the first villager that you come across. And then once he gets to the village, I'm sure the sun's going to rise up. So they might have some sort of dynamic lighting system. I don't know if that's, if you just stand in one spot, and I don't know if the weather changes then. I don't know if it's like you beat a certain section and then the lighting changes, then it goes dark again, or if it's the weather is actually consistent with how long you spend in the game. I mean, we don't know anything in that regards yet. But there's some footage right now. You can see it's this dark blue, sort of misty, slightly foggy atmosphere that Leon is thrown into. So it's a bit different from the original. The original is you kind of start maybe in the early evening, because obviously things transition to night when you rescue Ashley. So definitely a little bit different, but I think they're capturing that sort of disturbing atmosphere in a different way. Everything is this dark blue. I mean, I don't know if it's the moon shining, but it's kind of hard to see an environment like that in real life, like this dark blue, really strong blue, foggy atmosphere. I wouldn't say it's hard, but they're capturing a very disturbing atmosphere. Things feel off. Things feel different, for sure. And one thing is, I wanted to also talk as well about things that are exciting me about the remake. And I mentioned this in the past video that I did. I am really, really looking forward to so many things in this game, and I can see the heart that they're putting into this game, not just through the story, not just through the characters, but again, animations and lighting and graphics. Obviously, this is in the RE engine, but things look really, really good. Better than I think they did when the RE engine was first revealed, which was with Resident Evil 7. Things look really, really good, really sharp, and really aesthetically pleasing. Even the gross atmospheres in this game, they're pleasing to look at because the graphics are so well done. And then we get into animations, and some people might think, well, why are you talking about animations? Why are you talking about that? That kind of seems quite odd to discuss. Like, animations aren't important. The story is important, some people might say. But I think animation tells story just as much as, obviously the story or the campaign tells the story. Leon has a whole lot of moves under his arsenal. He can roundhouse kick. He can obviously stop a chainsaw with a knife, which is a bit unrealistic, but I don't know, maybe someone should test that with a really durable knife, and we'll see the results. Put that on YouTube. But Leon can roundhouse kick. He can deflect. In the Japanese footage, we can see him deflect pitchforks with his knife and then roundhouse kick them. I'm sure the suplex is going to come back. Leon throws enemies over his shoulder if they grab him from behind. I mean, so again, animations play into the story just as much as the actual story, in the sense that we can see Leon is much more fleshed out than he is in RE2. You know, the story isn't always told just through the campaign and what occurs. When there's so many animations and so many, lovely things that they put into the game, it gives it life and it gives it depth. And you can see Leon has matured greatly. He's jumping out of windows now, and he's rolling, coming to a stop. He learns how to break his fall. He's stealthy. He knows how to vault over things. I mean, he's doing so many things that you couldn't do in the RE2 remake. So his character's definitely getting fleshed out just in that aspect alone, just in animations, just in gameplay, what you can do with Leon. It's just really exciting. Also, the overwhelming feeling of feeling almost near hopeless. In the gameplay that we saw in the showcase, Leon is getting swarmed by enemies. And not only is it the number of enemies, it is what they can do. You can be grabbed by an enemy and pulled into the direction that Dr. Salvador is standing, ready to slice you in half. You see that in the showcase. And then Dr. Salvador can cut your path off by destroying a wooden sort of bridge, I guess you could call it, or planks above that are connected to one of the village's houses. You can destroy that and block your path. I mean, you really feel the sense that they aren't just NPCs, they are almost alive, and they're trying to stop you. They cut your paths off. They can push things in front of you to stop you from trying to save Ashley. And I think that was confirmed as well. People that got their hands on the demo, it's not just Dr. Salvador blocking your path by destroying the environment. They also push things in front of you, and they get in your way, and they try and grab you and throw you around. And you have to fight through that. And, Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 were kind of linear in that regard, that there weren't many. There were zombies, of course, they're not that smart, but I don't think, just from what we've seen so far in the remake footage, you feel so much more threatened. I mean, these Ganados they want you dead, and they're out for blood, and they're really trying to stop you. And I think it's incredibly unique, and I think that, again, these animations and things that they are putting into the game, and, going above and beyond and making you feel like there is nearly no hope. It's amazing. I mean, that's why I'm so hyped for this game, is because I see that they're putting work into this. They're really trying to show their craft, and they're really trying to cater to the audience. And again, this is only from what we've seen from 2 trailers: the story trailer, the announcement trailer, and the showcase. And it looks incredible. I mean, it really, really does. And I don't want you to think that I have any sort of bias just because it's Resident Evil 4. My good friend Colin, if you want to check his channel out, go to Maddox Guns and Gaming, and then type the word channel after that, because his channel can be a bit hard to find. But my good friend sent me the announcement trailer, actually. And to be honest, I was stoked, of course, and I was excited, and I was freaking out. But I was also feeling this. I mentioned this in my last video about Resident Evil 4, why I think it's going to be the greatest Resident Evil, is that I was a little apprehensive. I was really worried that it was going to be another Resident Evil 3. And what I mean by that, I don't think Resident Evil 3 was a bad game in any way, but it was very linear, and it was, I think, more of a cash grab. I think it was the only cash grab in the set of remakes that we're getting. I think Resident Evil 2 remake was really, really well done. Resident Evil 3 felt kind of empty. I still enjoyed it, but it was very, very linear. And I was worried that Resident Evil 4 Remake was just going to be an updated, sloppily put together cash grab. And I was worried about that. And then the showcase came out, and my mind was kind of changed for the better, because I saw that they are putting a lot into this, and they're actually working to make us happy and to kind of let us relive a game that just kind of, it not only changed the gaming industry, but has brought us so many memories and has brought us great joy. Because Resident Evil 4, I hope everyone that's watching this has played the original. But if you haven't played the original, it is an amazing game in so many ways. The atmosphere, Leon's one-liners, the sense of dread that you can feel, the amount of unique enemies, sort of the evolution of the gameplay. Things change. You can do a suplex, which you can't do in the beginning of the game. Enemies' heads don't explode right away. I don't know if you noticed that. And then things get more gory as they go on. Enemies get harder to kill, which I think Resident Evil 4 the original actually has a dynamic. I think there's a dynamic difficulty on professional or something like that. I don't know the exact, don't quote me, but I think it's, if you're doing well, the enemies become a little harder to kill or something like that. And if you're doing poorly, then they kind of lay off a little bit. I think that's a thing. I don't know if that'll be in the remake, but that'd be cool to see. And again, it's the tiny little minute details from the original that they're putting in the remake, which I love. During the showcase, they showed the merchant and his inventory, and basically all of the original weapons are there. I mean, we didn't see every single one of them. But I mean, they're all there. The sniper's there. We saw the sniper. The mine thrower is changed into, like, I think it's called a bolt thrower now. The TMP is seen in a screenshot of the merchant. And they're keeping all those things, and they're keeping weapons that in the original we loved so fondly, that were fun to use. They were unique. It was nice to start out with weapons that weren't so good and then upgrade your arsenal into something really, really awesome and something really powerful. Again, those tiny details, man, those tiny details, I think is what's going to set this game up to be something absolutely extraordinary. This is something that I don't know if a lot of people have seen. But if you zoom in on, I think it's a screenshot. There's a screenshot of the inventory, or it's either the inventory or the merchant. And if you zoom in, you can see the Silver Ghost, Leon's handgun that he starts out with, fully upgraded, and it looks like the Silver Ghost that we know from the original. You know, that has these plastic grips in the middle, and then there's this wood outline on those grips. Surrounding the plastic part, and there's a laser sight on it, which you can buy. You can buy that in the merchants. You can buy that in the shop. You can upgrade your Silver Ghost to have a laser sight. I'm sure other weapons as well. But again, those tiny details. You know, we don't have to have the original Silver Ghost from the original RE4 in the remake, but they're putting it in there because I myself loved the Silver Ghost in the original. I thought it was just a really cool, unique looking handgun, and I always loved as a child watching the cutscenes with him walking around with his Silver Ghost, and I just love it. I think it's a really badass handgun. And the fact that if you look really closely in the screenshot that Capcom released, you can see it fully upgraded. I mean, God, it's just, they don't have to do those things. We don't have to have the Silver Ghost look identical, but they're, like I said, they are remaking this game almost exactly how we knew it back in 2005, with a few little twists, upgraded graphics, several more animations, more threatening enemies, lots of new dynamic things like hopefully the lighting, like, you know, daytime, nighttime. That'd be cool to see. I'm just really excited. I mean, really, it's I was hyped, but I said in the last video I was cautiously optimistic, and now I'm not so cautiously optimistic. I just want I wanted the damn game to be released, because I'm tired of waiting. You know, of course I don't want them to rush it and just throw it out there, but I am more than ready to have this game in my arsenal of games. And I can firmly say that this is the most hyped I've ever been for a game ever. Honestly, and I mean that. I just think they're doing so many things right, and they're catering to us. It's not just a cash grab. It's not just something they're throwing together for the sake of releasing just so we can be semi-pleased and then move on. They're remaking it for us, which it's amazing, honestly. Of course, we haven't played the game, so we don't know how it's going to turn out. We don't know if it's going to be a buggy mess or anything, but I'm optimistic. I'm not cautiously optimistic anymore. And I think they're doing these remakes justice. RE2 Remake was really good and really good. I still enjoyed the Resident Evil 3 Remake, but it was very, very linear. I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but to me it was very, very linear. And not in the sense of like story or anything, but like level design. Almost everything in the RE3 Remake almost felt like an alleyway almost. Raccoon City's a big city. They say it's a small town city. I don't know what they said. What's the quote? Someone says it's like the small town of Raccoon or something. But in the remake, in RE3 Remake, we see it's a giant city. Even in the original, what am I saying? In the original, we see it as an actual city. You know, it's a fully fleshed out city with skyscrapers, multiple buildings clustered together. And we explored literally like 1/100th of the size of Raccoon City. I mean, everything in the RE3 Remake was alleyways. Everything was tight. There wasn't this sense of exploration. You didn't have this full map to explore. Everything was very linear. Now, I'm not saying puzzles and navigating the city was like easy. I mean, you still had to learn the map. You still had to learn the game. Like, oh, how do I get back to the train station? Oh, how do I go here? I kind of forget. But the entire time, it feels like you're walking down alleyways. Everything feels very gamey in that. And in Resident Evil 2, I kind of give it more leeway because, I mean, you're in a building, so things are going to feel more linear. But in RE3 Remake, you're in a damn city. Like, it shouldn't be like tiny little alleyways and little steps that you run down. It should be a city. Things should feel massive. You should feel overwhelmed that this entire city is, you know, swallowed whole by this virus. And I don't think RE4 Remake is I don't think it's gonna be linear, because if you look at the map, I want you guys real quick, I'm gonna do you guys a favor. If you're like me and you're constantly trying to find new info on the Resident Evil 4 Remake, you want to find new footage, you want to find new gameplay, you want to discover new things about the game that are official, look up, type in on Google Reddit RE4 Remake upscaled map. The reason I say that is because if you look at the map of the game that was shown during the showcase, during like the pre-order part of the showcase, you know, some people, we've tried to zoom in on parts of the map and like study the paths and see what the buildings look like, but it was really like really low quality when you started to zoom in. If you go on Reddit or you search on Google Reddit RE4 Remake upscaled map, you can find someone had upscaled the map to where you can zoom in on it in great detail and basically see the entire you can see the entire map. And again, it's identical. It is legitimately identical to the original Resident Evil 4 with a few little changes. But Torres Mendez house seems to be covered in sort of overgrowth and vines, and like it's not taken care of. And then you have the factory area that's there. You have the lake, obviously, that's there. And then the lakeside settlement, which I believe are those little buildings by the lake, by where Del Lago is. I don't know for sure, but there's a lakeside settlement in the game now, and then the castle is even on that map. If you zoom in, you can see pathways that Leon and Ashley will kind of walk across. And in my mind, I was kind of like picturing, okay, this is where they're going to go, this is where they're going to walk, this is a door here, this is the pathway here. And it was really interesting, and it kind of, you know, made the wait less unbearable in the sense that I got something new to look at and whatnot. So there's loads of things out there. You just kind of have to do some digging. But man, I'm really looking forward to it. You know, Capcom really seems to be catering to us and what we want. We get to finally have the original, but greatly changed for the better. Better graphics, better animations. I'm sure more fleshed out. The character's going to be more fleshed out. We're going to have a better story. Things are really, really looking promising. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video.